So who were the Nephilim mentioned in the Bible just before the flood of Noah's day? Were they really fallen angels, giants, demon-possessed men, or even aliens from other planets who came to Earth in ancient days? Did these angels or aliens really have sexual relations with humans and cause a race of partial humans that became so evil that God had to destroy the earth? These explanations are some of the more popular ones, which attempt to explain an admittedly difficult passage found in Genesis chapter 6. The passage reads as follows from the King James Version. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. First, context is extremely important when properly interpreting a biblical text. The word giant in the King James Version is often translated as Nephilim in more modern versions. This is because the exact meaning of the word is a little hard to pinpoint. Nephilim is the Hebrew word used here. The term giant, used by the King James translators, is probably the least accurate, as the original meaning of the word Nephilim means a tyrant or a violent man. Also, the term mighty men from the King James Version more properly translates from the Hebrew word gibor to a warrior, or again, a tyrant. The only other use of the word Nephilim in the entire Bible is found in Numbers, when the 12 spies were sent into the land. The spies reported that they saw violent tyrants in the land, or Nephilim, which the Bible at this point identifies as descendants of Anak, clearly of completely human origins, from Numbers 13. And there we saw the giants, or Nephilim, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. The Hebrews, who were small people by comparison to these wicked and violent men, described themselves as feeling small in their presence. Perhaps this is where the idea of giant comes from, but the word Nephilim itself does not really lend itself to the definition of giant. We know of other giants in the Bible, for example, men of probable genetic anomalies. Goliath, who was almost 9 feet tall, comes to mind immediately. No mention is ever made in the scriptures of these other giants as being descendants of angels or demons or space aliens. The term sons of God is apparently the term which throws many people off. The text says that the sons of God married and bore children from the daughters of men. The term sons of God is used in one place in the scriptures, Job 1:6, as a term for angelic beings. However, the term sons of God is also used to describe the children of Israel, or God's people, in the book of Hosea and several places in the Psalms. The term sons of God is used prolifically in the New Testament, and in every single instance the term means believers in Jesus Christ, or those who belong to the Lord. It is also a well-known historical fact that in the Old Testament biblical days, rulers in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia often proclaimed themselves as sons of God to enhance their power and prestige. So you see, the term has several biblical and historical meanings, the very least of which, and the most obscure, is to identify the term sons of God with angelic beings in every case. The idea of angels or demons or space beings mating with humans is found in much mythology and paganism. Biblical roots, however, for such teaching is in reality non-existent. So the biblical text in Genesis 6 is obviously communicating here, in context, that in the days of Noah, the earth had become filled with violent thugs and tyrants ruling and destroying by strength, terror, and bloodshed. There is no mention of angels or demons or space aliens. The very next verse, verse 5, bears out this proper contextual interpretation. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination or the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Again, no mention of demons, angels, or space aliens. It becomes apparent then that Moses, in giving a sweeping overview of perhaps many hundreds of years of human history just before the flood, is simply making the point that godly men abandoned their commitment to God and took pagan wives. Over much time, this spiritual degeneration of the culture resulted in a violent culture ruled by terrorists and violent thugs. Does this sound strangely familiar? It was this overt spiritual degeneration of the culture that brought God's ultimate hand of judgment upon the earth. The Bible says these same days are coming again, and so is God's great and final judgment. You can escape this coming judgment by surrendering your life to Jesus Christ and by calling upon Him as Lord for your salvation.